Former President Abdullah Gül supports sending 4 former ministers who were allegedly involved in corruption to the Supreme Court for trial, a former advisor to Gül has said, a view that conflicts with that of President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan and many members of the Justice and Development Party, AK Party. Ahmet Sever, who served as Gül's chief advisor for 12 years, gave an interview to the Hürriyet daily that appeared in the daily's Sunday edition to discuss the publication of his newly released book Abdullah Gül il 12 12 Years with Abdullah Gül. In the interview, Sever said Gül was very uncomfortable with the corruption and bribery allegations leveled against senior AK Party government figures that became public with an investigation on December 17, 2013. The 4 ex-ministers were accused of engaging in corruption and bribery. Several members of the AK Party government, as well as family members of Erdoğan, were implicated. In January of this year, a 14-member Parliamentary Corruption Investigation Commission, most of whose members were from the AK Party ranks, voted against the referral of the 4 ministers to the Supreme Court for a trial. The Constitutional Court assumes the title of Supreme Court when it tries ministers. The AK Party and Erdoğan, who was the Prime Minister at the time, dubbed the graft investigation a coup attempt against the government, and they strongly denied the corruption charges despite the existence of substantial evidence. When asked if Gül did not believe the corruption allegations made against government officials, as he had written in his book that Gül found the claims hard to comprehend, Sever said, he did not think it was sure that there was corruption. He thought the charges need to be investigated and the ministers should be acquitted at the Supreme Court. Sever's book was published at a time when there is speculation about the return of Gül to active politics at the helm of the AK Party. Gül stepped down from the presidency last August. He did not run in the general election held on June 7. Rumors about Gül's return to the AK Party have intensified, particularly after the failure of the AK Party to win the minimum number of seats to continue its single-party rule for another term in the recent election. In response to a question asking about Gül's possible return to the AK Party, Sever said he is not very willing to do so and that Gül encourages the AK Party to establish a coalition government. We don't know what the developments will show. Gül said, if they really need me, I'll think about this then. Certainly, I would set my own preconditions, Sever said. When asked to elaborate on Gül's preconditions, Sever said Gül is against having 2 heads of state, meaning that the Prime Minister and the President should perform their duties in line with the constitutional boundaries and without stepping into each other's domain. Erdoğan is known to meddle in the work of AK Party leader and Prime Minister Ahmet Sever, although Erdoğan is supposed to remain impartial and above daily politics according to the constitution. Both Erdoğan and Gül are co-founders of the AK Party, which came to power in 2002. Gül was a former foreign minister until he was elected president in 2007. Though they were formerly political allies, disagreements between Gül and Erdoğan have become more visible in recent years. According to Sever, the biggest conflict between Erdoğan and Gül surfaced during the Gezi Park protests in the summer of 2013, which were sparked in protest of government plans to demolish Gezi Park in Istanbul's Taksim neighborhood. The protests turned into nationwide, anti-government demonstrations due to a brutal response from the police. Sever said while Gül viewed the protests as a reaction that emerged out of environmental concerns, Erdoğan saw it as an attempt to topple his government. The former advisor of Gül also gave examples of instances during the Gezi Park protests when Gül intervened to peacefully contain the protesters and convince Erdoğan to adopt a soft stance against them. Sever said Gül was concerned about the ongoing developments, tension, and polarization in the country. According to one passage in the book, while Gül was making an assessment of the developments in the country, he said, "If I assume the prime ministry, I will immediately make Turkey return to the days when it was shining as a star. I will revitalize the EU process. I will correct the mistakes in foreign policy. The country has been polarized too much. I will take the necessary steps that will eliminate this one after the other. I will give weight to democratization. I will immediately refer the 4 ministers who face corruption charges to the Supreme Court. Although Gül is said to be complaining about the anti-democratic practices and polarized climate in the country, many say he is among the contributors to all these because he approved of controversial laws sponsored by the AK party government during his presidency. For instance, Gül approved of a controversial law last year that not only changed the structure and operation of Turkey's key judicial body, the Supreme Board of Judges and Prosecutors, HSYK, but also gave the government immense control over the judiciary. He also approved another disputed law that gave the country's Telecommunications Directorate, TB, more power over internet content.